All right, and welcome. Thanks everyone for joining the webcast today, sponsored by Red Hat, OpenShift, and IBM Watson X. Today we're going to talk about a little bit of the art of the possible, a little bit about generative AI. We're going to talk about the possibility of doing POCs, pilots, and demonstrations using the Watson X platform. And lastly, Red Hat is going to be here to present on their partnership with IBM and their enablement of all things Watson X and Gen AI. So without any further ado, let's get going. Quick introduction on Technologent. We're approximately a 750 million a year revenue company, 300 employees across the United States. We're very much engineer and architect driven. We have about a 3-to-1 ratio in the field of engineers to sales executives. We have offices in many of the locations across the US. These are just some of the major office locations and the geographies we cover. We also cover our customers internationally, North American driven, but we are able to operate in all the theaters that you see in the blue. We're a woman-owned company, and we believe in addressing client solutions first. We don't necessarily lead with tools, we lead with business outcomes. But we do have disciplines across many practices. And if you're interested in anything that you might see on the screen here today, we're very happy to do a follow-up meeting with you to talk about any of these practices that we do have and the technology pillars that they cover. But like I mentioned earlier, we have a business outcome approach. We try to make sure that we align anything that we're working on with our customers, whether it's hardware, software, statement of work, major initiatives where many different solutions are included, to the outcome that your business leaders, your executives, your company is actually trying to achieve. So without further ado, we're going to get straight into the generative AI piece. I will say, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in chat. You can also message Ernesto Larios and Tom Teague directly, and they can repeat your questions either in the chat or if they have the capability, they will interrupt me and ask questions. So feel free to reach out to them throughout the whole time. There will be some questions that we can definitely address as we go, especially if they're easier to answer. We will have a little bit more thorough Q&A at the end, but we do promise we'll follow up on any and all questions, and we do encourage a lot of interaction after the webcast. So look forward to anything that you might want to talk about, and here we go. So obviously, this is probably not news to anybody. How did generative AI become a product category? Why is it now the leading business driver across IT solutions, cloud solutions, and technology solutions across the whole industry? The origin story, so to speak, even though generative AI has been around and transformers and large language models have been around for a little while, when OpenAI released GPT-3, and they released it as ChatGPT, it basically exceeded anything that we'd ever seen in the space before. So the quickest to 100 million users, ChatGPT did that in 2 months. The next quickest to 100 million users are platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, and you can see they did it in 3 or 4 or 5 factors of the time that it took ChatGPT. Currently, as of October, ChatGPT has 200 million weekly active users. 67.7 million are out of the US alone, and 10 million paying subscribers. So they're still growing, and there's a lot of competition across the space. Now there's about as many generative AI companies as all other technologies combined, because it is a growing market. We'll see startups, we'll see bubbles, but the technology is here to stay. And one of our jobs here at Technologent is to help adapt generative AI for business use cases and turn generative AI into functional AI. So knowing that, and knowing that everyday users understand what generative AI is, even if they don't call it that, or that the power of something like an OpenAI, a ChatGPT for business is something that's transforming business. The C-suite and lines of business inside of our customers, inside of corporations, et cetera, are now pushing to get generative AI applications into their platforms, into their business processes. So there's an expectations, and the expectation here is generative AI is going to turn your business into a supercar. And that's an executive expectation. They want their supercar to go faster than their competitor's supercar. So in the interest of keeping the analogy realistic, what they're actually looking for is better time to market, better time to value, better time to product, all of the business drivers, everything that I just mentioned. There are already key process initiatives and measurements, KPIs, that you can actually measure to see how long it takes you to do process A, process B, get a quote in front of a customer, get a product into the market space quicker. All of these things are really market pressures that we see from the top down and the bottom up. And what we've seen with a lot of our customers is you're actually able to reduce the amount of time humans spend doing things that can be automated now with generative AI. What we like to do is then sit down with our customers and start making recommendations, knowing that there's a lot of pressure from the top, from the lines of business, from the marketing teams, from the sales teams, wherever it is across your corporation, to get these deployed correctly. But we want to think about some things. Where are you receiving your models and your applications from? How do you keep them? How do you secure them? How do you build them into your processes, right? So if we're bringing models into the business and we expect a supercar, but we receive our models from a lot that looks like this, that's a very shaky ground to start on. It doesn't provide a lot of trust. A lot of our customers are actually talking to us about they may not have the business processes, the cybersecurity, the governance and compliance set up to take on new AI methodologies, new models, and implement them into their business better. So there's a lot of adoption that has to happen with process and people that's going to keep things from moving again. And then our goal is to sit with our clients, help them do that adoption, help them build that governance, and really get the car moving again. And one of our engineers here at the company is really good at animating slides. I want to call out Matt Wolonsky if he's out there. This animation always makes me smile because he even got the wheels to move, right? But our goal is to get the cars going again. So then we have to think about, what are our deployment pipelines? What about our connectivity? What about our existing infrastructure, whether that's cloud, on-prem, et cetera? And what about the user adoption and processes, like we mentioned a second ago? So if you've ever seen this stretch of road, it's a very friendly to supercar stretch of road. It's an Autobahn. That's the type of experience that if you're expecting a supercar, you need this type of infrastructure because it allows you to hit the accelerator and move as quick as possible. Unfortunately, a lot of our customers are reporting to us that their infrastructure, their connectivity, their DevOps process, their people processes, their actual backend connectivity, their power and cooling, all of that infrastructure is in dire need of a refresh, and it looks a little bit more like a road with potholes. Again, it's not something that's conducive to moving at the speed that the business might demand. So once again, it's our goal to help our customers improve all those processes, improve their connectivity, their infrastructure, anything that might be an inhibitor, and get all of the applications moving at the speed that they need to move again. So we need to talk about, where is the business value, right? So there's two things that are always at play. User expectations. After using smartphones for more than a handful of years, right? You hit an application and you don't necessarily care how it works until it's broken, right? But they expect fast results, and they expect it to be a similar user experience to any other application that they might use. Behind the scenes, we have to operationalize, make it secure, make sure it follows any compliance, make sure that it follows our own internal and external governances, and it requires more planning from the outset. So how do you achieve both is an ongoing question. Originally, a Harris poll was taken in the middle of 2023. So again, back to the acceleration of AI and generative AI inside of business. And originally, they said in the next 3 years, the percentages that you see at the bottom, we're going to deploy generative AI applications, spend significant sums to get them going, improve customer service, use it for R&D, et cetera. And And Alma, if you wouldn't mind repeating Tom's question while I'm on this slide, please.
Of course. What AI solves for are possible if my infrastructure has the potholes road you showed. Is it possible to show the business what's possible like a POC, or do we have to go to the business first to get an AI initiative funded first?
Hey, that's a good question. Tom's giving away the plot a little bit, but at Technologent, especially with our partnership with IBM and Red Hat, we also have internal labs, and we have AI and HPC labs that we can bring big pilots and POCs into. But any use case where you would like to see if it's possible and have it refined towards your internal use case, if you work with Technologent, we can help you do that at no additional cost. So you don't have to go provision a bunch of cloud or get a bunch of servers just to see if something is possible, so to speak. And that goes in line with when they're pushing, and there's a lot of opportunity to have cost avoidance. But also when people are pushing, there's also a lot of cost that is going to be incurred if not planned for properly. When this Harris poll was rerun and it was done at the end of 2024 or 2023, the updated data said by the end of 2024, all of the same statistics still hold true. They were trending up a little bit. But the net of it is that we went from we're going to deploy generative applications and AI in the next 3 years, and 6 months later they said we're going to do it next year, and that actually is showing in the work that we're out scoping with our customers. So uh, beginning of Q2, we were probably in 30 to 50 active projects that we were scoping with customers and working on business value and improvement. By now, it's 3x that number, right? So we've actually gone from 50-ish projects to over 150 as a company where we're working with different customers on different AI initiatives. Um, Here's just another slide on that point. This was taken at the end of 2023. Different set of executives, Forbes study here. Again, multi-million-dollar investments into Gen AI in 2024 versus 23. And the key expertise and perception from the executives around speed and timeline. They want to get their projects out, their products out quicker. Um, on the flip side of that, and this is the good news, bad news, right? Most organizations, and this holds up pretty well, at least across the whole organization, there's pockets of excellence, there's pockets of expertise inside a lot of our customers. But then they are now saying from low single digits to 50%, and I'm going to net all of these stats out for you. Basically, I don't have a plan to have a plan. So I don't have a center of excellence in place. I don't have an executive sponsored AI council that has all the governance rules and processes in place. And these are all areas where we can help out. We can help out with things like AI adoption workshops for executives. We can do functional AI workshops with technical experts, and we can do line of business workshops about how to effectively use AI in the day-to-day work practices to help achieve those goals. And then a big area and a big area of focus for us is we want to do, you'll hear terms like ML ops thrown out there, AI ops thrown out there. We don't want to have happen what happened in the DevOps days. It was a race to get DevOps going, and ignoring security at your own peril is what we found out. It's much harder to implement security after the fact, but if we have the tenets of cybersecurity built in the first place, things like API security, making sure that we're locking down our SaaS applications to not talk to unauthorized Gen AI applications through backdoors and partnerships, and having those controls in place. Things like container and log security. Containers are a big part of this ecosystem, and something that we're going to hear a little bit more about from Red Hat. And then making sure that we have chain of custody and control on our models themselves and how we bring them into the enterprise. And that's something that we have today with IBM and Watson X. We have a good story around how to do that with a proper chain of control. And then tying all that into our software supply chain, whether it's off-the-shelf software, if it's a DevOps or an agile environment, and making sure that it's in lockstep, it's done with those same guardrails, with that same governance, following the same compliance, and all of the above is auditable and has the capability to be auditable with immutable logs. These are things that are going to be important moving forward in the future. If we automate, we use Gen AI to help automate. We want to make sure that we can audit and see what happens, and then continuously improve those processes as time goes on. This is a real quick slide. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. We we fired up our Gen AI practice by using our existing platform automation, business automation, IT automation folks, and we said we are platform engineers with AI ML expertise. That really got us a running start. A lot of the tools in the space reuse a lot of the concepts that come out of the automation and DevOps space. So that's how we got going so quick. One of the things that we like to do is really sit down with our customers. Okay, we did a POC, we did a pilot, we know that it can work. Now, how do we phase it into our organization? We have customers that started this process in very early 2023, running production applications now. So, of course, you start in a phase one where you do all of the due diligence. There's a lot of front-ended work to build that and make it a repeatable process, mature the application, etc. They're well into the adoption maturity, phase two and phase three that you would expect for that particular use case for that application. It becomes easier as you do more, but the first time you do a generative AI application, there's a skills gap, there's a knowledge gap, and a process gap. Those things you need to account for and build that into the process. And we're very happy to sit down with our customers wherever they are. They may already be into phase two or phase three, but they need a little bit more help. That's something that Technologent, IBM, and Red Hat we're doing with our joint customers today. Real quickly here, and Red Hat has a better view of this using IBM and Red Hat technologies, but we do want to talk about what's involved to deploy a generative application. So this is more for the technical folks in the room, people that have been supporting operations and servers and network for years and years and years. If you've been around 30-something years like I have, we love to do our layers, right? So TCP/IP, OSI layer, like all of the above, that helps us organize. So we have three main layers that we care about. The infrastructure layer includes the servers, the GPUs, the storage, the front end networking, the back end networking, the networking between the GPUs, and that is all to host the model layer. The model is where the machine learning data goes. And that machine learning data comes with some application logic, and development environments to support the ongoing improvement of the models that are being deployed. And ultimately, the application layer, meaning the customer facing side, whether that is your end customer, your internal customer, if it's a API integration into an existing system of record or SaaS solution, all of those need to be accounted for. Pictorially, we have kind of some visualizations that show that how that goes. But on that on the infrastructure layer, we want to be able to deliver containers that have GPU capabilities. And we want to be able to do that in an enterprise-friendly manner that's completely supportable. And then the models themselves, like I mentioned earlier, if it is a LLM, large language model, or if it's a traditional model, a computer vision model, etc., it still goes into the model layer. You still want to do model operations or ML SecOps around how that model is deployed. And then the application logic, development, and integration for that customer experience or customer UI at the end of the day. And with that, Matthew, I wanted to give you your shine here and really talk about how Red Hat and IBM partner and enable a lot of this from your view of the world, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. Thank you, John. That was a really great overview. For those, feel free to go through and throw questions, particularly into the chat. And for those that don't know, Red Hat's an independently operated subsidiary of IBM. We had basically go through and have our own development-based focus areas, and IBM technologies will utilize our platforms. And this is heavily seen with the Watson X AI platform running on our OpenShift. For those who don't know, Red Hat has our flagship that we're known for, our Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which is kind of where Red Hat started about 30 years ago. And when it comes to going through and working within the world of cloud, we actually deliver in a cloud native style operating system, which is known as OpenShift, which is our containerized platform that has the capability to deliver functions as a service, serverless, containers, or virtual machines. It's pretty fascinating. Advanced, if you don't mind it, John. We'll go to the next slide. So where did Red Hat's journey begin with this? And believe it or not, it started where you'd expect Red Hat to go. We start with an open source based development model. We actually had a project known as Open Data Hub, which was helping our customers adopt AI in a containerized fashion. And the question is, why AI and containers go together? The reality is it provides a level of consistency in the fact that you're actually able to version control all the different underlying pieces. And this is important because libraries specific for AI are very touchy to ensure that you need the right library and the right drivers to actually drive your workload as you specifically expect. We took that open source project after a period of time. We brought it in as our OpenShift AI platform. This runs as an ML ops based platform, assisting with both generative AI workloads and predictive AI workloads. You can think of it as going through and having all the libraries that you would like for both serving and inferencing. It's designed to go through and provide things like Jupyter Notebook as a service. And one of the key parts is for your development life cycles, it has the capability not just to scale up to do all the testing, but scale to zero so that the next person can get onto those valuable GPU-based resources, which are out there in limited base quantity. Click next if you don't mind. So, next slide. So after this, Red Hat started the process of going through and helping customers with our own technologies utilizing things like generative AI. We did this through what we call our Lightspeed based offerings. So what Lightspeed does is go through and bring generative AI to traditional operations-based tasks so that customers get a level of acceleration. You can think of it as adaptive-based AI. So we started with our Ansible Lightspeed, which goes through and helps our customers write automation-based code. And utilizing this, and it actually connects today to the IBM-based cloud. Customers can go through and get access to hundreds, if not thousands, of modules brought to their fingertips just by going through and starting off the section or providing, I would like to create a user, and the stanza for automation appears and they can decide to adopt it or not. As part of Red Hat Summit, we announced that we'll have a similar style solution for our OpenShift platform. And then we've provided some visionary guidance that will bring this to Red Hat Enterprise Linux as well. So let's go to the next slide. After we embarked on our Lightspeed initiatives, we looked at generative AI in a very interesting way. And this will actually complement Watson XAI and OpenShift AI, which is how do we go through and quickly accelerate people on their AI journey? If I can go through and customers are working today within the cloud, one of the things that people immediately realize is that developers can get started rather quickly. It's a matter of understanding tokens, and developers know things like tokens. The reality is that that doesn't always go through and provide a functional output that can actually be put into production. So what we did was we looked at a platform designed to go through and provide models that customers would specifically want, but remove all the threats. So we created a foundation model platform. So foundation models go through and complement existing particular generative AI technologies such as RAG. They go through and provide a more tailored style experience. As part of this, as part of this platform, released a series of base models with IBM, known as the Granite-based models. So IBM open sourced the Granite models. We're delivering them as life-cycled. So not only utilizing things like safe-based tensors, but actually consuming them within containers so that they're digitally signed. So you have a complete trackability chain. And we're doing something rather different in the fact that we're also going through and providing IP identification around them. So here's this area of models that we're going through that we can build off of, and then we provide alignment-based tuning. So this alignment tuning utilizes something that Red Hat's worked with IBM Research to be able to go through and do called InstructLab. And InstructLab allows an individual, by just going through and creating a series of questions and answers, to actually tune models. And this is fabulous because we've democratized and the people that have actually been able to go through and contribute to AI, particularly in general, which opens up a complete pool of people that today are really subjugated to adopting models from somebody else and not really being able to work within an open source community. So we looked at it as like, how do we take models and bring the power of open source and the power of the ecosystem to be able to grow that? So we've developed this taxonomy-based approach utilizing the Instruct Lab capabilities, which utilizes lab alignment, which there's a great paper specifically on, and the platform delivers this. And we have roadmap to deliver this as part of Watson AI right now. And we showcased that recently with IBM at IBM Think. So let's jump to the next part. So really, where does Red Hat see ourselves within AI? It's the capability to do what you'd expect, get you the scale that you particularly need. So this is, you can go through and run models that you specifically want an infrastructure that scales either in the data center all the way to the edge. And we bring you to your data versus bringing your data to somebody else. Why are customers looking to specifically do this? Well, one of the biggest concerns that we have is data is probably the most precious things that organizations have that provides that level of differentiation. It goes through and really is that one part that differences you with your policies and procedures from your competition. Going through it and avoiding bringing that data to a third party reduces things like that data being particularly leaked. Or the models not interpreting the data that you would expect, and those models get out into the wild. What you're actually able to do is go through and do your training behind your walls. And this capability to go through and do this really means you're controlling that access, because data is the most important part, but models are a function of possibilities versus they're a function of data. So let's jump to that next slide, please. So what does the AI-centric portfolio look like? So pretty much you can go through and pick any particular platform that you want, from physical bare metal all the way to cloud-based SaaS offering, and utilize AI accelerators like GPUs to be able to go through and power your workloads. The OpenShift platform provides that scalable capability to run from one node to hundreds and hundreds of nodes. And OpenShift AI provides the foundation part to give you all the frameworks that you want to build your AI model-based pipelines. And the Watson X solution goes through and provides the tailored approach, that studio that people want to do that lower level based development. And the foundation models are out there, both in the open source and those provided by IBM. All right, next slide. So how does the full stack particularly deliver? So one of the keys is understanding that the reason that containers were particularly chosen was to provide a level of dependability. So, and this level of dependability and the fact that they're modular and portable really means that going through and defining the experience, either within that physical based environment that may go through and live next to your data in your data center will and can translate exactly to the way that it would within the cloud environment, which you may utilize to go through and scale. Why this is important is to your developers, to your infrastructure teams, this common control plane really allows you the capability to go through and define out an experience that is the same across all the different platforms that are particularly out there. And with what OpenShift AI does is provide that set of open source based tools that complement all the different things from IBM Watson X data to IBM Watson X governance, and of course, Watson X AI. So Red Hat OpenShift AI is a separate SKU than straight OpenShift. Are there any AI components built into the standard OpenShift? So two great specific questions. So Watson X AI is a separate offering, but it comes with going through and adopting something like Watson X AI. So it comes as a comprised-based solution. You can get it as just the OpenShift AI platform, and that would include the underlying OpenShift. If you're looking to go through and run an inference utilizing third parties, Red Hat's huge about our ecosystem of partners. And that ecosystem of partners envelops large number of AI partners out there, from everybody going through and providing inferencing-based engines to training capabilities, to those that are providing things like data meshes that go through and complement AI workflows. So from a delivery-based perspective, the OpenShift AI provides that tooling to assist you with your AI-based journey. Our ecosystem goes through and provides complements to that, dependent on like where you may decide to do something particularly different. So we look at that scalability as going through and being that part that's particularly out there. So great, absolutely great question. Let's jump to the next slide. So how does IBM and Red Hat help address your concerns? So the big part of going through and getting started is understanding that you want to be able to create a streamlined based approach. And really, you want to create an underlying based experience that makes it simple to go through and use, but utilizing tooling that's open source on the foundation, so that you understand that you can bring these types of solutions anywhere, and that the skills that you have with utilizing these open source tools really provide a level of transfer which reduces the technical debt to adopt. So really what we're hoping to do within there is help drive a new level of baseline consistency that can go across the different components of the hybrid cloud-based environment. You mentioned not having to be a software developer to get started on Lightspeed. How technical does an effective consumer of that platform need to be? Can non-IT people figure it out? Yes. So like for for our Ansible Lightspeed capabilities, literally you just plug it into your IDE-based browser and sign in to your IBM Cloud account, and then it immediately starts going through, and as you're typing out your Ansible automation, it will go through and do baseline completion. This is very similar for our OpenShift delivery and our RHEL-based delivery. There is out there the capability in upcoming releases to go through and run those models on your own inferencing-based stack, but it's traditionally designed to go through and really focus on the end user acceleration. So absolutely another great question. Is there training to learn how to build and support this offering? So depends on the offering. So for the RHEL AI with InstructLab, there is particularly training out there, but it's designed to be simple so that customers can go through and get started with foundation models in 5 easy steps. For going through and working with the mechanics of an OpenShift AI, this is Jupyter Notebook as a service. There's quite a bit of training out there. And John, do you want to talk to the ecosystem within IBM of like what training is specifically out there and what your organization does with that?
Yeah, great question. And I'm just shaking my head, yes, because there's lots of training available. There are also very customizable workshops on site and virtual that we can do depending on the customer needs, and we will make it client accessible. The other part of that question is how easy is some of this to use? When we put Watson X on top as a platform, there are portions of Watson X platform that are going to be familiar and available to even a more just general IT consumer rather than an expert. So they will be able to get into an area within Watson X that looks a lot like a ChatGPT style interface. And Matt, my apologies. I try to read the chats real quick, but they just flash on my screen because I'm in presenter mode. But yes, more to come. If anyone's interested on anything bespoke or official instructor or training led, we're very happy to make those introductions and help you design that for your organization.
And
Chime in on that training. There was two questions. This is Ernesto Larios here on John's team from Technologent. Going into this stack kind of blindly and leveraging the training. I was able to get up to speed, and our team was able to get up to speed incredibly quickly. The quality of the training from Red Hat and IBM was really impressive. And if anybody wants like more direct links to training, or maybe even some quick 30-minute intros into the platform and training, I personally would be happy to help, and I'm sure the rest of our team would be as well.
Yeah, it seems like Greg will follow up with you directly, and we'll provide some of those links to everybody in the webcast as a follow-up as well, and part of the response afterwards. Thank you for those questions.
And to go through and kind of point out one of John's earlier points, generative AI is not a new field. It's just newly exciting. Exciting in the fact that there's a wealth of training out there. There's a wealth of white papers. There's a wealth of methodologies. And really what organizations are looking to today is understand how they can go through and accelerate and bring these capabilities in, which really means going through and starting with conversations and notional architectures on going and creating those outcome-based approaches that deliver you what you hope to go through and particularly achieve. The number of techniques that are in both generative AI and predictive AI is one of those parts that you can fill an encyclopedia with. But from going through and getting started, the real goal is envisioning what you want to go through and particularly deliver to your customer, which is either a better experience, a faster adoption area, reduce cost if you're doing things like call-based centers, and then working backwards to align the technique and align what this particularly delivery model will look like. John, do you want to jump to the next slide? So breaking down the mechanics of the platform, really what we hope to go through and help customers do is look at working inside of an AI environment with the same rigors that we've developed with going through and all the lessons learned of DevOps, creating model-based pipelines, working things like continuous-based feedback, developing mechanisms that allow for approaches that go through and align for quick-based life cycles. The focus really behind that is to free up the data scientists to be able to go through and tailor the use cases more specifically to what you want and spend less time working with the intricacies of the mechanics of delivering. And remember that like the one part that's out there is models require constant update. I say that applications are one of those things that customers are sometimes just updating with, basic feature patches, but as knowledge increases, AI models are more like fruit. They have a set of rot to them. So you want to be able to be updating them all the time so that they really go through and align with the end user based experience. Next slide, please. So this has really been kind of an exciting number of questions that have gone through and are out there. For those that are looking to go through and think about like what happens from your AI journey based perspective, what I like to say is that really what the hope is from Red Hat's partnership with IBM is the open sourcing of like AI potential. We have been heavily working on going through and looking at AI and generative AI and working towards like democratizing the process so that individuals can go through and contribute. Because today, a lot of people are particularly locked out. And how do I go through and provide ways to go through and handle the updates of models so that they're really providing the most particular value that it's out there? And really what we see is this capability to go through and contribute really goes through and allows you to take advantage of diverse pools of talents and gain transparency, particularly in the process, which is really important for the governance capabilities.
Matthew, Chief Architect from Red Hat, thank you so much. I have a couple quick points that I just want to emphasize that you brought up that I really like that you talked about. First of all, bringing and democratizing the AI platforms right into RHEL. I think that is a huge benefit for a lot of customers. It brings the barrier of entry much lower. OpenShift and the work that you guys are doing around the AI acceleration on that platform, your Ansible Lightspeed portfolio, and being able to interact with the IDs that the customers are using. And finally, just another way of enforcing the chain of custody of the models themselves and having an enterprise way of delivering those, and the ability to deploy anywhere. Those are, to me, fantastic benefits and accelerators. I think in the idea in the world and in the mode of chasing the acceleration of the supercar that is this AI tailwind that we're going, I think this is really it's like having a custom super kit underneath that chassis. So I appreciate everything that Red Hat's doing in this space. Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, no, thank you, John. And for those that are out there, unlike a year ago, AI no longer requires the boutique hardware that it just recently had to do. Now it's accessible to all organizations that are out there. And while you may not go through and train base models, you'll be able to take advantage of going through and doing tuning or providing predictive capabilities and onboarding things faster, which is particularly great because these will be that notion area where there'll be two types of person in the workforce, those who use AI and those who are retiring and don't. And really, like, that is going to be like the key differentiation is looking across your work areas and providing ways that it just enhances the experience, which will really go through and up satisfaction, not only from what you're doing from a delivery perspective to your end customers, but just from your employment-based perspective. Because while a huge amount of data have made their way into models external, those types of things haven't happened for internal organizations yet. They have yet to go through that comprising of like looking across their wealth of information and providing the power that's those how possible this GD today.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Everybody hear me okay still? Matthew was cutting out just a little bit at the end there, at least on my side. Maybe Tom or Ernesto, can you guys hear me okay?
You're clear, John.
Yes, you're clear.
Thank you. So again, really exciting partnerships we have with Red Hat and IBM. If you'll see the top right corner here, this is not everybody in the technology space that can enable and help with the AI platform rollout. This is just a small swath of the overall marketplace. And good news is we're partners with everybody, but we really like that top right-hand corner for the speed, acceleration, and the ability to deliver functional AI demonstrations of value quickly. But as you can see, if there are other avenues or partners that we need to work with within the ecosystem, whether it's existing technical debt or to include some very specific or boutique pieces, we're able to do that through some of these other partnerships and relationships. And then we'd love to introduce the idea to everybody on the call today. Book a watsonx demo, a POC, or a pilot. We can do this, a total top to bottom pilot or POC with everything that Matthew just talked about from Red Hat as well. And again, Tom was tipping his hat to this earlier in the call. We're happy to do this at no additional expense to you. So if you have an idea, if you want to try out one of the common or AI use cases, or if you want to, real quick, this is just a screenshot of a demo that I did a couple months ago. We set up using IBM's Granite model on the fly, a network system engineer agent. You'll see that top prompt is telling the Granite model to behave as if they were a system engineer. Then we gave it a intermittent issue. It's kind of vague on purpose in the input section, and it started spitting out very relevant and capable advice and for a help desk person from a senior network engineer. We like to say we gave it all of the information with maybe the toned down personality of the senior network engineer without the grumpiness of getting paged in the middle of the night. The good thing is the machine itself is always going to have a good attitude. Once we start fine tuning this and enabling things like retrieval augmented generation for domain specific knowledge, it's going to give even better advice and process and procedures. And if those maintenance operation guides from that operational team are then included, it'll be specific to the environment. And on top of that, we can tie in the logs and really start treating the systems in the network like a patient and start having a patient doctor conversation right here in this interface. Then if we like what we see, we can look at the code, or we can save the code and export it into a live project. We can use things out like Watson X AI, Watson X Discover or Discovery, Watson X Data, and Watson X Assistant to accelerate all of this and move into production these type of ideas and use cases. So feel free, reach out. This is at no additional cost to you if you want to talk about the use cases. Here are some examples of use cases. We'll go through things like code review and Ansible automation, including things like bringing in Python or Terraform or existing platforms where you want to have your Ansible automation platform directly interact with those. Gen AI can accelerate the adoption of all of the above, right? We want to get into traditional AI, we can look at things like anomaly detection or fraud detection. Customer service is a big area that's in the line of what I just talked about. A second ago, we were doing it with a help desk use case, but this could be a virtual human where you have a FaceTime-like interaction with a digital avatar that does all of the above for that particular use case. So somebody wants to have a conversation and interact with the machine at all hours, if it's a retail use case or something of that nature. If you have questions about your account, wherever that might be, we can do that. We can set up some use cases. Healthcare is a big area where there's plenty of AI use cases. They've been using AI for years and years and years. All of a sudden, this is like a big shot in the arm, literally, for all things healthcare. Now imagine if the surgeon or the chief medical officer or the general practitioner is sitting in a room. They're not holding an iPad. They're not taking notes. They are dictating inside the room, that a smart room that has audio capabilities, what's going on with their current patient, what they need to update in the EMR system, how to schedule the next follow-up, uh, calling in the prescription just by talking it into the air, and then going back to their workstation and quickly validating all those results before forwarding it along to the next and the next and the next. It's removing data entry time from people whose time needs to be spent focusing on those clients, those patients, those customers, and really accelerating their daily workflow. Again, we talked about retail. Retail, you can have virtual try-on experiences. You can have a digital banner as you enter a retail space, and it might say, "Hey, Tom Teague, I noticed that we didn't have size 12 in the shoe that you looked for last time. We have this year's model. Would you like me to get the customer service agent to go ahead and pull that model for you right now so you can try them on physically while you're in the store?" It would be able to recognize and tailor a message to that individual user. Again, we can do things like computer vision in manufacturing, where you can actually view for defects and prevent defects from being shipped out in the first place, reducing overall cost, improving quality, and not having to worry about as many returns due to defects. And that's something that's been very much a focus in the space, but it's really accelerated in the last few years because of all the extra attention that AI is getting. Building that into a process, being able to speak to that process in natural language, and it speaks back to you. And the list goes on and on. So as you go through these use cases, we will be sharing a copy of this deck in PDF form for everybody to view. And you have questions about these might not be your exact use case, but if you want to say, "Hey, I've got this problem and I've got these couple systems of records," and it goes back to the classic automation question that I've been asking my customers for 20 something years. Where do you spend 60 hours of your 40-hour work week, and how can we help improve that? So think about human supervision, human in the loop, maybe too much human in the loop. Those type of automation problems now have a solve that we literally didn't have 2 years ago, and that can all be integrated and moved into the pipeline for raising all of our employees up to the next level of supervision. And we want to create a human sandwich. Human initiates an activity, the machines take it as far as we allow it, we may approve it. It might be like a Big Mac and we have more ingredients, and then we want to move to the next part of the sandwich before we do final approvals, right? So the employees, the personnel are still responsible for their job duties. We're using the machines in an intelligent way to reduce that time to market, time to value, improve the speed and velocity of how we output all of our products in general. So with that, and again, I'm not going to go through every use case line by line. We'll leave this for everybody to take a look at. Remember that we will do these free pilots, POCs, and minimum viable products on your behalf, so you do not have to go in the cloud and spend money. You do not have to go acquire a bunch of GPUs just to try something out. 30, 60 days of figuring it out with you and doing a live pilot, and you should have a good idea if that's something that you want to bring forward to the rest of your team. I'm going to leave it open to Q&A now. If there was any great questions that I might have missed because they were flashing too quick, Ernesto or Tom, we want to be able to address those now. We mentioned it earlier in the call, but we do offer workshops. Workshops range from things like Copilot workshops, AI adoption workshops, Watson X workshops, workshops for line of business and executives. And everything that you see here, we have multiple members that are happy to dive in and do any of these follow-ups that you see on the right. And then additionally, what Matthew mentioned earlier. But any questions from the chat, Tom and Ernesto, that you think is worth doing real quick? We have about 9 minutes left in our time here today.
We've tackled all the questions, but there does seem to be quite an interest in follow-up training and demos. So
okay,
we do have a new one that says, do these workshops help convince C-levels to let us use Copilot?
Absolutely. We have Copilot specific workshops, and if there is interest in ability to use Copilot, that usually opens up the door for us to do other workshops and more functional AI, right? It gives some additional trust. It's not an either or. Just because you have Copilot doesn't mean we wouldn't be able to do some of these other valuable use case projects. So Copilot workshops, we usually chase that with an executive level boot camp or workshop for the execs as well, along with like I mentioned, the line of business. There's a lot of process type stuff that line of business needs to understand that demystifies what AI can do for them. So that's valuable. And then we have very technical workshops or slightly technical workshops and project-based workshops. Yes. Ernesto, Tom, anything else from the chat that you think it's worth addressing real quick while we have 6 minutes left?
No, I think we've wrangled it all, unless Ernesto sees something I didn't see.
I agree with Tom. We've addressed the questions that's come through the chat, John.
Okay.
I'll just like to add that these, I put a comment in here. These sessions are so much fun, and I've found them to be very exciting for myself, and for some customers have come back to us and after the fact said, we had someone in house that maybe didn't want to go down this AI route. After that workshop, they were totally convinced and all in. So these workshops can definitely be used as sort of breaking the ice in convincing people to give AI a shot.
And if they've had any consulting firms come in, if you guys have had any consulting firms come in and they say, your business needs to be doing AI, and they give your business a list of things, and maybe the executives are having trouble consuming that. One of the things that our team, Ernesto and Tom and team, are very good at leading from recommendation to plan. That's usually where those consulting firms end, and we take it from recommendation or plan to execution. And along the way, these workshops that we just talked about are very valuable, but really kind of taking, disassembling the pieces and parts and making them consumable chunks to progress you across your journey. One of the things that we like to do at Technologent that I think is really important as well is we like to focus on success. So we want to find those use cases like on those slides that I just went through, where you have a low-hanging fruit use case. We don't want to be like the Phoenix Project and fail first, and then no one has confidence on AI. We kind of all live in the real world, and we know that budgets are finite, trust is finite, right? So we want you to succeed first, so then you can fail fast. And if we can help you with these first couple good use cases and show the business that they can actually make very good strides with AI today, and I'm going to be quite frank with you, the tools that are out there, 80 to 90% of most use cases are built. It's that last 10 to 20% that needs to be customized to your business via retrieval augmented generation, via some graph relationship, via integration into your SaaS platforms, whether that's system of record and system of action. These are all things that we have done for customers already, and we're doing more and more and more. And it goes like surprisingly fast. It makes me so excited when we get in there and somebody says, but can we do something? Sometimes we're showing them the can we do something in under 24 hours. We typically say within a week though, and that's amazing. That's not something that I've lived through in my lifetime where somebody says, can you do X? And I say, yeah, but it's probably going to take 12 to 18 months of development time. We can truncate that time to really 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks with the right use cases. So I'll leave that as a parting thought. We do want to do workshops with you and your teams. We do want to do follow-ups around training and the live POCs, pilots, and minimum viable products. We're very happy to do that. And I look forward to talking to everybody in the near future around that. And with that, Alma, I think I'm going to have to end 3 minutes early if we covered all the questions, but we do look forward to any follow-up conversations. Feel free to reach out and send questions, and we appreciate everybody's time today.